Hey, what's going on, my friend? If you're taking your PMP exam this year, there are only 5 tools that you need to pass your exam on your first try. Now, once you've decided that you're taking your PMP exam, the very first thing that you need is a printed copy of the PMP exam content outline, and I'll be including a link down below for your reference. You need to treat this document as if it's the Bible because your exam is covering everything and all of the concepts that's written inside. It's a really short PDF document, and I want you to read every single bullet point and to familiarize yourself with every topic that's covered. What you're going to notice is that your exam is focused 50% on the processes, 42% on the people, and only 8% on the business environment. When you go to page 2, it states that half of your exam will be predictive and then the other half will be agile or hybrid. So as you read through each bullet point, you need to understand how these concepts apply to both the predictive and the agile framework. You don't need to memorize anything, but remember to focus on understanding the concepts. Why? Remember that your exam is not memorization based. It's primarily situational based, where you're put in a situation and you have to choose the best answer which makes the most sense if you were the PM in that instance. And about 80% of the time, you can eliminate the obviously incorrect answers by using process of elimination because your test is multiple choice. And all you have to do is find the best answer which makes the most sense intuitively. You're not going to see 50 or more questions asking you to recite facts, definitions of terms, or what a process group is. So instead, the vast majority of your questions will be something similar to, what would the project manager do next? What should the project manager do first? Or what is the best action to take in this scenario? Of course, there are other question types like hotspot and matching, but these occupy only a very small percentage of your exam. So with your exam content outline, go through it and highlight all of the topics that you aren't familiar with and dedicate time to understanding what these things are by looking them up. For example, on page 7, it states that you need to know how to determine risk management options. If you aren't familiar with what the different strategies are for negative or positive risks, such as the difference between avoiding a risk and mitigating a risk, then read more about it by referring to your PMBOK guide and your exam prep book. The second thing you need is an exam simulator. There is only one simulator that I recommend because it's given myself and hundreds of other people phenomenal, amazing success, and without it, I personally would not have passed my PMP exam above target in all domains, and it's definitely well worth the investment. I personally recommend investing into PrepCast PMP Simulator, and I'll share links down below so you know which one I'm referring to. You need to grab a copy of this because this will be your ultimate go-to source of practice material every single day. Now here's what I did. I dedicated about 30 minutes in the morning during my lunch break at work, and of course another half hour at night towards practicing as many questions from PrepCast Quiz Bank on a day-to-day basis. And just by doing that, I learned very quickly what my strengths and what my weaknesses were and where I needed to improve upon. So use my link down below to see which one I'm referring to, because this will completely prepare you for the mindset of questions on the agile, predictive, and hybrid approach. The key to passing your exam is learning how to apply yourself and solving situational based questions. The third thing you need are PMI's reference books. You need hard copies of the Agile Practice Guide as well as the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. Regardless of how much experience that you have with Agile, read the Agile Practice Guide cover to cover at least 2 times. It's extremely short and you can easily read this in 3 days or less. This thin book covers everything on Agile that you need to know, which will be covered on your exam. Me personally, I read it about 3 times and I focused on understanding the high-level concepts of the Scrum team and what the roles and responsibilities are for each person. So for example, what's the difference in responsibilities between a Scrum Master and a product owner? And what's the importance behind the ceremonies and the Scrum artifacts? So what I mean is knowing what a sprint backlog is and how that's important during a sprint, and who is the one who takes full ownership of making sure that the customer's requirements are being mapped correctly to the backlog. And of course, you need the latest version of the PMBOK guide as a reference aid so you can look up any familiar concepts and vocabulary that you're not really familiar with. Now, PMI did release a book recently about the process groups for the predictive approach. This isn't truly required to pass your PMP exam, but it is a good reference aid if you're not as familiar with the different processes, the steps with the predictive approach, or what's involved with each knowledge area. So again, check it out in the links down below in the description bar. Now, the fourth thing that I recommend to everyone is to invest into a PMP exam prep book, and the one that I personally used is Rita's exam prep book. The way that Rita discusses the predictive approach and each knowledge area will make it very easy for you to understand. It's not as foreign or confusing as it is in the PMBOK guide, and it's so much more straightforward with a lot of examples and practice quizzes to strengthen and reinforce your knowledge. I use Rita's exam prep book really to hone in and strengthen my understanding in the predictive approach. Now, the fifth essential tool I recommend to everyone is to get a hard copy book called Essential Scrum, written by Kenneth Rubin. This is what I personally used to build a good foundation in Scrum and the Agile framework before I took my PMP exam. It's actually written by one of the originators of Scrum, and it goes incredibly into depth into each role in Scrum team and how each person interacts with each other. So if you're a beginner with Agile, then I recommend supplementing your studying of the Agile practice guide with this specific book so you can better understand how it's applied and what Agile looks like when it's actually being used on real life projects. This book will not only serve you really well on your PMP exam, but it's going to be a very valuable resource in your day-to-day work if you manage Agile projects. These are all the tools that you need to pass your PMP exam on your first try. If you want to practice additional PMP questions, if you want to learn how to solve them correctly the first time, and also get a refresher on the most important Agile concepts that's on your exam, then sign up to my free PMP course that will get you up to speed in less than 1 week by going to alvinthepm.com/bootcamp, and you'll get free access to my free PMP course through email. I genuinely hope that this video sets you on the right path so you can finally become a certified project management professional. Now watch this entire playlist from start to finish to gain insight and my own advice in how to solve practice PMP questions, and I'll see you in the next video.